All right, let's talk about karma, but probably not in the way you're used to thinking about it. We're not going to talk about some cosmic judge in the sky. Instead, let's reframe it as something way more familiar, an operating system, one that's quietly running in the background of your life right now.
So let me just start by asking you this. Do you think it's possible for a child to remember a life that wasn't their own? It sounds like something out of a movie, right? But for over 40 years, a researcher named Dr. Ian Stevenson at the University of Virginia looked into thousands of these cases. And the details these kids remembered, well, they're just stunning.
Let's zoom in on one of his most compelling cases. This is a young boy from Sri Lanka. His name was Wijeratna. Now, from the day he was born, his right arm and part of his chest were underdeveloped. But the really strange part, it was what his mother heard him whispering to himself when he was just a toddler.
Can you imagine hearing your little boy say that? I was born with this bad arm because I killed my wife. His mother was, completely baffled. Nothing like that had ever happened in their immediate family. But his father knew exactly who he was talking about.
And this is where it gets wild. The story the boy told lined up perfectly with a tragic family secret. He was describing his own uncle, a man who had murdered his fiancée in a fit of rage. He was caught and he was executed for that crime years before this little boy, Wijeratna, was even a thought.
And here's the kicker. The boy's birth defect, it has a name, Poland syndrome, and it is incredibly rare. We're talking odds of less than 1 in 20,000. So what we have here is a very specific memory, that checks out, connected to a very specific and very rare physical condition.
So what are we supposed to do with a story like that? How on earth can a memory and a physical mark just carry over from one person to another between two different lives? To even begin to make sense of stories like this, we're going to need a whole new framework. And this is where the idea of karma comes in. But let's just, for a moment, forget everything you think you know about it. This isn't about some cosmic scorekeeper deciding who's been naughty or nice. I want you to think of karma as the universe's code. It's not designed to punish you. It's just a program, running based on the input it receives. So what is it, really? At its absolute core, karma is just the law of cause and effect. Simple as that. But it's applied to our intentions and our actions. It's as impartial and as automatic as gravity. If you drop an apple, it falls. Every time. Karma's like that. It's just life's operating system. This is where the shift in perspective is so important. We go from thinking there's some judge out there to seeing it as an impersonal law, just like gravity. It stops being about fate, something you can't control, and it becomes an automatic feedback loop. You know the biggest change of all? It stops being something that happens to you and becomes something that happens because of you. You're the one at the keyboard. So how do you actually write this code? Well, it breaks down pretty simply. First, you have the keyboard. That's your mind. Then you have the command you type in. That's your intention. Your actions, what you actually say and do, well, that's you writing the lines of code. And your life experience? That's just the program running based on the code you wrote. Okay, but hold on a second. There's a big, obvious question here, right? If we're all programming our own lives, why don't we remember doing it? Why does life so often feel completely random and out of our control?
The best way to think about it is like a system reboot. Every time a new life begins, it's like starting up a computer with a totally fresh install. The memory logs, all the data from the last session are wiped clean. And because of that, it's really hard for us to connect what's happening now to what we did in the past.
And this creates what you could call the problem of the lost logs. We see the output, things like a strange fear of heights, or a natural talent for playing the piano, or even a birthmark that looks like a wound. But we can't see the hidden input from a past life that caused it. And without seeing that original cause, life can feel totally arbitrary, even unfair. So now, if we take this framework and we look back at those weird, unexplainable cases, suddenly they start to make a strange kind of sense. A birthmark that matches a fatal wound? Maybe that's a bug that slipped through the reboot. A kid who can play Mozart at age 4? Maybe that's just cached data that wasn't fully wiped. An irrational phobia? That sounds a lot like a leftover corrupted file. And that right there, that insight changes everything. Because it means you're not just some passive user watching things happen on the screen. No, you are the programmer, and the keyboard is right there in front of you. When you really get this, your whole view of life begins to transform. It's no longer a series of random chaotic events happening to you. You start to see it for what it is, a highly complex but ultimately understandable rule-based system.
And this completely reframes the whole idea of suffering, doesn't it? Hardship isn't some cruel, unfair punishment anymore. It's a system alert. It's critical feedback from the program, telling you that a past input, a past action, was unskillful and that the code needs to be rewritten. And this has got to be the most empowering takeaway of all. In this model of reality, you are not a victim. You're not just subject to the whims of fate. You are the one at the controls. You are the ultimate programmer of the reality you're going to experience next. That power is entirely in your hands. So, that leaves us with one big question. For you, right now, if every single thought, every single intention is another line of code that's writing your future, what kind of program are you going to choose to write today?